Number one, I do still think when people ask me about crypto, that kind of stuff, like what's the best one out there? The only one I've ever seen, and I'm not saying it's the best or this or that, the only crypto I've seen, and I've even written it on the whiteboard, has been XRP. Now that could go up, it could go down, everything could go in different directions, but I'm just telling you, it's the only one I've seen. And I believe that one is going to be the one that's the most stable in the long run, or one of the top ones in the long run. People are saying, Joseph, what kind of cryptocurrency should we be looking at? Because it seems like it went down and you talked about this, it's all over. For me personally, I think the only one that's solid is XRP. I've said that from the beginning. I feel like that's a safe, prophetic one. XRP, prophetic. That's not, don't quote me on that one. I think it's the safe one I've seen prophetically. The XRP is probably the safest crypto to be in. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling people what to do.
The judge said that public issuance and selling of XRP may not constitute a security or unregistered security, while the filing and selling of XRP to institutions does constitute an unregistered security. So we sort of have a slight difference in the case that a lot of people were not expecting. This may mean that XRP sold on exchanges and just generally wherever you can buy XRP may not be an unregistered security, but selling it to an institution from Ripple Labs itself does constitute a security. It adds some further nuance to the whole crypto conversation about how these institutions do collect and purchase cryptocurrency, and how the masses that purchase cryptocurrency on exchanges interact with it. This, of course, has been going on for about 3 years, this case, with first a $1.3 billion lawsuit levied by the SEC against Ripple Labs, one of the creators and originators of the XRP cryptocurrency. So definitely some big news. XRP is bouncing on the news, of course, because it's mentioned here. Jen?
I just want to say I relied on another news organization for my information on this story, and they failed me. I won't say who it was, but yeah, we're all just compiling the information here. Anna, what's your reaction?
Well, that's why you always should read your news, your crypto news on Coindesk. Right? No, I think it's really interesting that even though I guess we cannot yet say that the judge took the side of Ripple, but there is a clear argument that, it's not enough to sell some tokens to retail for it to be deemed securities. And that, I would say, it kind of might, make a dent on the SEC's offense on crypto, in which it's ready to deem basically any token a security if it just was like trading on an exchange and sold to retail. And the judge says, like, wait a second, that's not enough. You need to prove something else here. So I think it's really interesting, and it's probably gonna be an important precedent for all the SEC versus crypto lawsuits that we see. So yeah, huge step actually.
It's definitely some big news. Of course, this goes back to December of 2020 when this lawsuit was first filed. So it takes a while for us to get some news on these lawsuits, but it does eventually happen.
Artificial intelligence, I began to pray about this, and the Lord talked to me about this about 1.5 years ago, and I shared this last New Year's Eve on artificial intelligence, where the Lord said in 2019 to me, there's going to be a silent step with artificial intelligence. That'd just be kind of like, oh yeah, AI. Nobody really knows what it is, but this is what's happening. In 2020, it's going to take a much more bold step. And this bolder step is a year where it's going to come into the light, but it's going to come into the light through fun. And I'm not saying this is good or bad, okay? I'm not saying that artificial intelligence is this big terrifying monster. It's not the Terminator. It's not this stuff. But there's something the Lord showed me that we need to pray for those who are programming this stuff. We need to pray for those who are at the helm of this stuff, because it's not so much what it can do right now, it's who's indoctrinating it, using my terminology, who's indoctrinating it to do what it's going to do, and then when it takes off, okay? And so we're at a phase right now that I think we can't even understand. The Lord began to show me there's a phase almost like when you're, if you're pushing a car in the snow and you're trying to get it unstuck. You're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and the wheels are turning, and all of a sudden you get a little momentum and you can run with it till it goes, and pretty soon it gets too fast for you. Yeah. and then you can't touch it anymore. We're not there yet, but we're approaching that. And I believe right now we're pushing it out of the snow. The Lord began to show me this and said it's going to come out with a more strong picture. And some of these things are going to begin to happen. The apprehension is going to go away. We need to pray for those who are going to develop it. And there will come a sort of absolute power eventually that will take two major steps. The Lord began to speak to me about two major steps, one after another, and then it will be no longer something we can comprehend. And it will be silent and part of everything. And so Lord showed me that one of the things you're going to see when you know that this began to happen, one of the signs I think that's going to happen is you're going to see a technology that literally maps our entire universe mathematically. I began to pray about this. It's literally going to map the entire universe. You're going to see that and you're going to go, how is that even, what? How? But it's like, I think it's going to be a mind-blowing thing that it maps the universe somehow, like physically, either through math or some other way. I don't know, but it's going to go beyond our comprehension. We are going to lose all privacy. There's things that are coming, and here's the answer to all this. The conclusion when all has been heard is fear God and keep his commandments. When we begin to set our trust and our affection on Jesus, it doesn't matter anymore. And the answer to all of this is those that draw near to the Lord, this doesn't have to be a scary thing. Now, I'm not saying this is next year or whatever, but I believe over this 10, I think into 40 is when we're going to start to see that really, really take off. I began to see a new freedom technology, okay? Now, I don't know who's going to bring this forward, but it could be the former president. He might actually do something like that. I think that would be more powerful than him even going back in right now. There's going to come a freedom tech one way or another. Now, will it come through the president? Maybe. Will it come through Elon and Don Jr. and all these people? This freedom technology that could come forward? I believe there's going to be a fresh social media voice. I don't know what's going to happen with some of the things that have gone down, but it could even be, and I have a strange sense that the chokehold could get very strong on social media, and then I see a window. Now pray with me about this, because I see a window in social media where, because of this freedom tech that could come forward of making freedom of speech cool again, let's make freedom of speech great again, right? And you realize that could begin to happen. Social media, it could actually, you could see things like, Facebook and Twitter and all these different ones that have been the big conglomerate companies that are coming out. They could actually begin to release some of their stranglehold and let people talk freely again. That could happen. I know it's going the other way right now, and maybe it'll never happen, but I have a sense that over this, there'd be enough pressure from this that it would make the market competitive again, where they'd say, my goodness, if they're doing this, we better get with the program and start treating people better, right? Well, I shared at the beginning of this year about a topic called freedom tech. First of all, I prophesied that this could have been with number 45 before it was announced he was doing anything. Then I began to talk about this man, that Lindell would come out with some tech, and he did. We began to prophesy about a number of things, but I also talked about this man, Elon. This freedom tech we began to prophesy about with all that's going on. In other words, we could have one more round of a voice of freedom. In other words, we could be able to speak freely again on an open platform for the public, and it can't be shut down, censored, or silenced the way that they would like it to be. This indeed gives hope, because this man here, he's a rebel. He's a little bit of a rebel. I'm not saying that he's godly. I'm not saying that everything he does is going to be right. There could be a lot of wrong, a lot of unrighteousness happening, but at least he's not going with the narrative of the popular opinion of things. Now, this is what I prophesied earlier. I think also we're going to begin to see some things happening around this freedom tech that could bounce through 22, but we could begin to see freedom tech in 23. And this could be almost like a wild card answer in 2023 leading up to the 24 election. We're going to see them in the mainstream news again big time shortly. Okay, they're coming. okay? The Supreme Court's coming back, and you're going to begin to see this taking place in a great capacity here. This is going to make some major headlines very soon because they're going to make decisions that are going to rock things, okay? 2 years ago, the Lord began to tell us, he prophesied to us, that there would come indeed a freedom tech. Then Twitter happened. And wherever that plays out is still yet to be seen. But I believe this is going to induce pressure as the Lord has prophesied to us. And if this sign happens, hear me. There's a sign for light. There's a sign for hope. And here's the sign. The sign is, if indeed Twitter creates enough pressure that other media platforms, social media, like Facebook, like YouTube, like some of these other platforms will begin to rise up and they begin to unlock accounts and let people speak openly and freely, it is a sign that there is great hope and even the right leader will come into office. And the Lord is saying unto you very clearly, watch for the sign. For the Lord has showed this to me and I'm saying it to you. I saw part 1 of this, but part 2, and we've got to pray about this. Part 2, as we've prophesied, the Lord's been so gracious to share this with us, is that although these things began to happen, there could come a part 2 where because of this, it will create pressure to let people speak freely for another round. And this is a silver lining. A silver lining. I want to share that with you because I believe this is highly possible and it could happen. Now, it could go the other way. We could see things not happen, but I sense that when this took place, the Lord had spoken to us in advance that there would be a freedom tech, and through Elon, specifically through Elon, through Lindell, through other ones like him, and then this social media with one more round would happen. And I believe we are on the precipice of this. We need to pray because if this happens, that means they will take limitations off at least to a degree. And then people can be heard again, and voices of liberty can be heard, and we could stay off some of the nefarious things that are trying to manifest by this time.
The White House on Wednesday said it was reviewing its options after a federal judge restricted certain government agencies from communicating with social media companies about content on their platforms.
We certainly disagree with this decision.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the Department of Justice was weighing its options after the Tuesday injunction. That decision came in response to a lawsuit filed by Republican attorneys general in Louisiana and Missouri. They alleged that U.S. government officials went too far in efforts to encourage social media companies to address posts they worried spread misinformation. The ruling said government agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services and the FBI could not talk to social media companies for the purpose of urging, encouraging, pressuring, or inducing in any manner the removal, deletion, suppression, or reduction of content containing protected free speech under the Free Speech Clause of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The plaintiffs and many conservatives called the ruling a win for free speech. U.S. constitutional lawyer Floyd Abrams, who is senior counsel with Cahill, Gordon, and Rendell, called the ruling unprecedented. He said courts have never prohibited the government from expressing its views.
We've never had a situation where a government official or the government itself was barred by a court order from saying, but that's just not true. Take it out, please. Take it out. No force. But you really shouldn't be saying that because it's not so. And that's what this order does. So it's really quite unusual.
The judge made some exceptions for communications between government officials and the companies, including to warn about risks to national security and about criminal activity. Several social media firms did not respond to requests for comment.
The sign of Madonna, it'll begin to radically come forward and transform some of the narrative and talking points.
All right, turning now to some breaking news. We have just learned that Madonna is in the hospital.
She is fighting some kind of bacterial infection. CBS 2's Dana Tyler in our newsroom now with the breaking details. Dana.
Christina and Maurice Madonna's manager announced the news on Instagram late this afternoon. He said the 64-year-old singer spent several days in the ICU after becoming ill on Saturday. Manager Guy Oseary calls it a serious bacterial infection.
when the Nord Stream 2 pipeline was burst, that set in motion a domino scenario that is leading to this oceanic circumstance. Subs, ships, all of this. I am so stirred by this right now. I pray protection and a window of protection over our Independence Day week. The entire week. There's going to be sea again. The sea will be in the news.
Being brought to us right here from the debris from the Titanic's tour sub that has been recovered here. So these are the first images that we are seeing from the Titan here. The dramatic images capture crews unloading pieces of the doomed sub off the Horizon Arctic ship onto dry land at the Canadian Coast Guard Pier in St. John's, more than 1 week after it imploded around 13,000 feet underwater close to the wreckage of the Titanic, killing all 5 men on board. Now an international group of agencies is investigating what may have caused the implosion there. So we will continue to follow it for you all right here on Live Now from Fox. But again, wanted to bring that to you, of course, showing you these really dramatic images all caught right now just moments ago and being uploaded to us.
We're seeing what's going on with Disney, but I'm telling you right now, they're not too big to fail, and they're not too big to feel a very great amount of pressure in their pocketbook, okay? Disney's gonna take a hit, okay? They're gonna take a financial hit out of their arrogance that they can't be shaken. I'm telling you, they're gonna get shaken. They're going to get shaken because God loves kids and God loves his children and he wants to protect it. And when the eyes of the church get on it and we start to pray, we start to actually take action, then you're going to start to see change. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a shakeup there. There's going to be some things that happen. They're going to try to hide it. They're going to try to conceal the wound that they are having, but they're going to bleed out. There's going to be some difficulty coming to the pervy house of Mouse.
Is Mickey Mouse about to lose his house? It seems woke Disney fairy tales equal low ticket sales. Box office analysis of Disney's last 8 studio releases show a shocking loss of nearly $1 billion. Many of Disney's recent so-called hits barely broke even or flat out tanked. That includes big-budget Marvel movies like Black Panther 2, Ant-Man 3, as well as animation bombs like Strange World and Lightyear.
When they realize, oh no, we're starting to lose, oh no, it's really bad, you're going to see CNN fold, or it'll change hands. It's either going to go down or it's going to change hands. And if it changes hands, they're going to try to reinvent themselves. And I'll just say to them, have fun.
Steve Bannon is out there, very credible man, got a great show. He's saying that if even gets in, which is going to be the battle of our lifetime, he says then the real battle begins. So he says, you know, it's not even about the fact of getting him in there. Once you get him in there, every single possible is going to be coming at him again. What are you getting from a prophetic standpoint in all these things?
Well, I do believe that he has a clear run. I believe he's going to get in. I think it's going to be absolute battle. I think they're going to make as much entrenchment as they can. I sense there's going to be a couple breakthroughs regarding the election narrative. In other words, the way voting is done. I believe there's going to be some recovery of that, some exposure to that like we haven't seen before. They know that. So I believe they're flooding us through the borders to try to overcome the electoral cycle with just a flood of immigration. And with that picture, I believe that could also turn on its head, where suddenly actually what they think will work for their good could be a sudden turn of events where you have a good bunch of conservatively minded people that are flooding into this nation. And if they figure out what's going on, they just might actually help the good guys, not reward the bad guys. But I do believe it is a landmine battle. I believe he's got to go all this journey with a lot of fight. And if he gets in, here's something the Lord showed me, Pastor Todd. In the beginning of it, as Trump was going and things changed, I saw 2024 being the next window. And I know a lot of people have prophesied, no, he's in now, he's in there, he's in this. I'm telling you, it was 22 and 24 that the Lord showed me. And in 2024, I saw the words a roar in 24. I believe the year 25, there will be fire. just fire. I believe it's going to be a time of fire, but I do believe there's going to be some major collisions in 25. Then I heard the words pick up sticks in 26, and it's the potential, if we do this correctly, that we could see some heaven in 27. But I really sense this strong narrative coming. So whether it's or a backup like him, I believe he is the chosen to go down this avenue. But I'm in the same page you are, what Bannon commented on, yet from a prophetic perspective, I believe that's the journey we're looking at, and it'll either be him or one like him. Regarding all this stuff that's going on, I believe that he could end up having a VP that's a woman. That's something that I sense. I sense that's very powerfully. There's a lot that could still unfold with it. I believe that the future is not set, and it's not like God's in control like a giant marionette owner. He's instead allowing free moral agency to take its run, and that means the church, the people of God, even people that are just standing for truth in the world. We have, I believe, as you say and I say, one more round to see this happen. And I do believe has a very clear run at it, but I know they're going to try to do everything they can to stop him.
And so I see that we're in this transitional period from a prophetic standpoint, and I believe the revival is going to increase. So it's like while the calamity and the crazy fighting and all this stuff's happening, we're seeing the revival increase. Have you got anything along those lines?
Absolutely. I believe that there are reformers coming, like yourself, like your audience, that is called to breathe life into the institution. And the problem with reformers, well, let me explain the institution first, is the institution, after about 20 plus years, George Barna put out this stat that says institutionalism begins to set in after a move of God, after a revelatory word, after a generation ran with revival or something brand new for their movement. You get to a point where it becomes institutionalized, where it's handed to the children and eventually to the children's children, third generation. And what was once a living, breathing, vibrant move, a revelation, turns into an institution where they worship the past more than the future. So what you're talking about is this new clear move of God that will be a second wave. And I believe that's accurate, Pastor Todd, because as people begin to rise up in revival, I believe it's going to be a revival of reformers and reformation, where they are not called to burn the institution, because that's the problem a lot of people have. They think, let's go storm the castle. Let's get the church. Let's get them. Let's get them. That's not right. Although they have some correct points in it, it's not complete. We need to go and breathe life into the institution, right size the institution, and bring it into order for God's purposes. I believe that's the next wave. And I believe that will truly affect the church, the government, the marketplace, all the mountains, as Lance would say. I believe we're going to go into all these arenas, and that is the real revival that is pure. And I think that's the second wave you're seeing, because I bear witness to that, Pastor Todd.
The interesting thing with quantum technology, and I'm sure you know a little bit about this as well, is that it's they can't even explain how it really even works. Like, it's hard to really explain. All they know is it works and it produces some, the results that they're looking for. But there's something in it, that the technology, that there's like a missing link. Why does this work? How does this work? Where do they get those types of technology? So here's where the conspiracy, this is just me talking. CERN, they say they open up these portals, and they don't know what's going to walk through the portals. They're saying they're talking to these other beings or something on the other side. Could it be, Joseph? I'm just going down a rabbit hole here, but could it be that they're actually talking to demonic entities and getting technology from them? Is that a possibility in the crazy, bizarre time that we're in right now?
100%. I'm going to go to the whiteboard, Todd. Is that okay?
Okay, please.
I'm going to go to the whiteboard. I want to draw this a little bit because I love
the whiteboard.
Come on, the magic
whiteboard's coming out. All right.
The strange little thing here is an earpiece, just so people know. But let me show you something here. I'm going to try to draw CERN and explain it like to a kindergartner really quick.
Yeah, please.
So let's say CERN is this. It's called the Large Hadron Collider. It's the LHAC, Hadron Collider. This is CERN. Just very quickly, I want to draw it. What they do at CERN is they fire particles at nearly the speed of light at one another, and then they cause them to explode all along this giant miles-long ring that is underground. It's over by Switzerland and all these other countries. But when they fire them, let's take here for an example, they're firing them, these things collide, these little particles. When they do this, they burst. The particles burst. Then they look at it and observe it. And this is the argument they're making. Through empirical observation, they're looking at these particles and beginning to say they burst. Now we can figure out the origins of the universe. We can discover black matter, which holds everything together. The Higgs boson particle, all these things. The God particle's been discovered. Right. What holds us together? But here's a little other known thing that's even in some of their journals, as you're referencing, is as they're doing this, they are also talking about these areas where you begin to see portals. And you say, what do you mean by portals? Well, these portals, when they begin to burst these scenarios, open up and they can observe them and communicate through math so far with them. They're communicating in a math conversation where they send data through. And the crazy part is we've learned it's answering them. It's answering them.
That's so weird.
They send mathematical questions in and math comes out and it brings out answers. And that is to your point where you bring out the topic of many people are saying, well, we don't know what will come through or what we will send through, but they're saying something could come through. And now we know all the way to Genesis 6, Pastor Todd, it talks about this fallen angels or watchers, right? They began to mess with the DNA of humanity through women, whatnot, and they were put into a different arena. But the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11, I believe they were trying to open up the unseen spaces, which it wasn't a tower that went all the way up in the sky. It might have been high, but the purpose of it was to access the realm of the unseen, to go into the spirit. So Genesis 11 did that. This is another Tower of Babel opening up portals that's bringing crazy technology out here. So when you get into this stuff of quantum computing and they don't know how it's working and what's going on, a lot of this, Pastor Todd, could be because they're getting data from, and I'm going to step out on a limb here because that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, come on.
Fallen angel technology.
Yes.
Fallen angels. Now, there's nothing new about this in Scripture. I believe this is where we get our UFO narrative.
Yes.
I believe this is where we get this quantum computing. I believe it's interesting. And the more you study quantum physics, the crazier stuff can get. But that is part of what that is. And that's, I hope that made sense. To your point again, when he says summoning the demon, you know, we just drew this picture of CERN. CERN is this giant underground large hadron collider where they're doing all this stuff. But there is a scripture in the book of Revelation that talks about the bottomless pit will open.
That's right.
And from the bottomless pit comes this demon or fallen angel called Destroyer named Apollyon. You get it. And Apollyon comes out and he's going to destroy. And with him comes all these hordes and demonic things. I am convinced today more than ever that's a portal opened by man, just like the Tower of Babel was trying to do in Genesis chapter 11, Pastor Todd.
100%. If you think about it, then that explains why the goddess Shiva is outside, because it's that Apollyon. It's
Apollyon,
you know,
multi-handed demon.
And they did this in the tunnel opening ceremony, which was so bizarre and didn't make any sense.
These days, there's a lot of smoke on the topic of angels and spiritual encounters. I don't know if you're like me, but I like results when it comes to the things of God. That's why I believe the Spirit of the Lord had me write this book, Servants of Fire. This is a last days prayer manual of prophecy, intercession, and angelic activity that really will get results based on the Bible and real horsepower. I encourage you to get your copy today at josephz.com. Well, I am so thankful you're here. You know, this ministry is expanding. We are growing, and it is to the glory of the Lord. And I want to say something to every partner here, whether you are a recent partner or been with us a very long time. From the bottom of our heart, thank you. Partners, because of you, we could not do what we're doing. We're taking territory, we're building new media all the time, we're advancing, we're putting out written materials and giving away content all over the world. And we're so grateful to you for it. You send us on journeys that cost nothing to the people who are bringing us in. And I want to say simply to you, thank you. Now, if you want to join our partner family and you're watching, I encourage you to do so today. You go to josephz.com or you can text the keyword give to 888-259-0029. If you join our partner family, you're going to hear from us. We will love on you. We will pray for you. We will stand with you over all your dreams and your visions. And I'm telling you what, Heather and I, we constantly are praying for our partners. So please consider, if you're on the fence, join the partner family and let's do this thing together, both in prayer and generosity. We believe that God is going to make all your purpose, destiny, and dreams come to pass. We're standing with you for it. So thank you for considering partnering with us today. Again, you go to josephz.com. We have a lot of territory to take, and we want to do it together. God bless you. Remember, on a bad day, you're the best there is, and you are called to be and shine the light in darkness. I'll see you again next time right here as we continue bringing a now word of the Lord. God bless you.